Right. Now, why should people read the Idaho Observer?
Well, they should read it because it is more, I guess, beneficial to them than having me or you or other like-minded folks roll it up and start beating them over the head with it.
Uh-huh.
But the reason that they should start reading the Idaho Observer would be because if they're getting their news and their worldview is shaped from the mainstream media, the network news and the dominant dailies.
Including Rush Limbaugh, right?
Including Rush Limbaugh. Even though I personally appreciate Rush because he's at least brought people halfway there.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people were introduced to dissidents because of Rush. And like I said, he only takes people halfway there, and I think he's a blowhard. But nevertheless, people, and as a showman, he's occupying a niche in the marketplace, and I have respect for that. But a lot of people were awakened that the world is not what it seems through Rush Limbaugh, and then they've been able to, with their own independent thinking, go forward in the knowledge from there. So I appreciate him for that. But for the most part, whether they realize it or not, I think it's quite phenomenal. You can listen to the news on headline news on CNN or on ABC News driving down the road on the radio, and every day all the networks have like 6 or 7 stories. It's like the whole world is happening at this incredible pace these days, but there's only 6 or 7 stories a day. I'll be darned, right? And the editorial variation between the two is really quite minor and subtle in my book. And so if your worldview is being shaped by this 6 or 7 stories that happen every day and this narrow perspective that you're being shown, then you're not really well-rounded in your understanding of the issues being presented, because there's an entire spectrum of views, and there's possibly centuries of historical background for what you're thinking because of the way it's presented in the dominant news is just something that popped up out of a vacuum. But I subscribe to the notion that what we're experiencing today is the result of an unbroken chain of events that goes back 2,000 years. And if you, at least. And so if you understand that there's that much more background data and you begin to look at that material, then your perspective broadens and your opinions have they're a lot more rich in history and understanding of a lot of different perspectives, and then you're able to advance an opinion in my book that's valid. Anybody that does get all of their news from the dominant dailies and the networks, I believe, have opinions that are not valid because they don't understand the rich tapestry of events that shape the current events as we're experiencing them today.
I see.
And so that's what we attempt to do with the Idaho Observer, is give a background of different views as well as historical anecdotes that really bring contemporary issues to life in a meaningful way.
Now, am I correct to assume that the Idaho Observer is not just for folks in Idaho?
That is correct. We did initially concentrate a lot more on local politics and local events, but found that that's kind of a long story in a way. But we found that we are able to do more good if we broaden our perspective, and we are able to allow people to see the entire world from a bigger picture. So although we are the Idaho Observer, I think you could safely say we're observing the world from Idaho.
Gotcha. And how can people find the Idaho Observer or get information about it?
Well, you can check us out online, easy enough. We're at idaho-observer.com. And if you want to take a look at what we've been doing for the last decade, a fairly representative archive of material is up there. It's a rather expansive site at this time, but it's really intelligently organized, and there's a Google search engine too. If there's a specific subject that you're interested in, you can locate the articles we've done on that through that engine. And so, or give us a call. You can give us a call at 208-255-2307, and would welcome any feedback, any participation that somebody might have. If there's stories that they have, experiences that they've had, or they see things that are happening in the world around them, and they feel that people ought to be aware of that. We're not classically trained reporters and journalists around here. And in my book, everybody's a reporter. If you've got eyes to see and ears to hear, and you have the ability to think independently, you have all the qualifications necessary to be a reporter. And get out there and let people see what you see, and you can do that through the Idaho Observer.
Well, Don, I've been watching you the last few hours running around the office like a chicken with its head cut off, or is it a head with its chicken cut off? And so I understand that this is no small matter for you to take time out of your busy schedule to do this interview, and I thank you so much.
And my pleasure.
And I thank you for what you and Angell are doing for America to restore our republic and throw off the burgeoning yoke of tyranny that we are facing. So,
well, you're welcome. Thank you very much. And ultimately, all we have in this country today is a reflection of our people as a nation. Unfortunate but true. We can point fingers of blame at all sorts of different personalities throughout history. We can point fingers of blame at George Bush, Dick Cheney, and Don Rumsfeld. But those people, just like the bully on the kindergarten playground, they behave all the way up to the people around them's tolerance. And if we tolerate this, this is what we get. So if we are going to reverse the engines, so to speak, and if we're going to restore justice and decency to this republic, then it's going to have to be because the people are worthy of such a society. And that's another thing that we're trying to do at the Idaho Observer, is bring people up to the level where they can be self-governing. And at this time, let's face it, we live in a nation where people go to the grocery store and they leave their shopping cart in the middle of the parking lot, without regard for anybody or anything around them. And if we're a nation that can't even return a shopping cart to its proper location in a parking lot, then how on earth are we going to stop the George Bushes and Dick Cheneys of the world from ruling us?
Gotcha. Well, we've got our work cut out for us.
Absolutely.
Well,
put your shopping carts back, darn it.
Right. Well, back to work.
Okay. Thanks, Rich.
You bet.